Greetings for Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press. This is J. Douglas Barker. The book is titled An Eagle Soars, written and illustrated by our author, Elizabeth Marie, who joins me from the state of New York in the United States. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Jay. Thank you.
Good to visit with you. The back of your book gives a little insight into what the story might be about. It starts by giving this insight. When an egg mysteriously fell from the sky, Mama and Papa Pigeon knew in their hearts that it was no coincidence. Sure enough, they were to discover that the events surrounding the adoption of a new and unique member into their family would prove to be magical and a learning experience for all. Your book is designed for people over the age of 21. No, tell the listeners about your book.
Well, actually, what's been the most amazing miracle about that is that it was written for children, and the illustrations are for children, but it's been a story that's encouraged both children and adults to recognize their gifts and abilities. And what I've noticed from the feedback from the adults who've been reading it to their children is that they've awakened the sleeping dreamer that had to conform to fit into the world. And they just love the story for themselves because it gives them an opportunity to see that dreams never fade and we were born with purpose. And so the story is about just that, about realizing that no matter what environment you were so-called dropped into, you were born for a unique and beautiful reason. And it's not about what's outside and what you see, it's what your heart tells you to be.
Have you always been an imaginative and positive person, or is this something that perhaps came a little later?
I think I was born as an imaginative, positive person, and I've had my trials and tribulations like so many people on this planet. I've struggled with being a dutiful daughter, being a graceful person, being kind, and a lot of times it felt really awful to always be doing what I was told, knowing that deep in my soul I'm an artist. And it was very hard to be saying, well, it's better to go safe and be a secretary, or, maybe you should just get married. And I tried all those routes, and unfortunately my heart kept saying, this isn't who you were born to be. And so yes, I grew into being this person that I am right now.
The motivation behind this, in putting this into print, was it an outcropping of your journey so far, or how would you describe this story and how it came together? Well,
it actually came to me one night, and I believe that it's been a story that's been a reoccurring theme in my life. I've noticed so many people who they talk about what they wish they could have done in their lives. And a lot of us do that because we're just placed where we're placed, and we conform to wherever we're placed. And so the seeds have been planted, the story has been told in so many different people's way of seeing it. And just when I woke up in the middle of the night, the characters, the illustrations, everything that I needed for the story was there. It's like, Elizabeth, it's time. Everyone needs to hear their story and see it in print. This is about everybody on the planet to discover who they're meant to be, because we want you to be who you're here to be. Not that anything that you've done is not of grace and goodness. It's just that there's something very special about you that you need to bring into the world, and we really want you to know that and to be that.
For the pragmatist in me, what if you have desires that are unrealistic? How did you address any of that in your story, or are you just one of those optimistic people that thinks it's worth trying anyway?
I believe I love adventure. I'm one of those persons that, now mind you, I have fear, but I've realized that fear and excitement the feelings are exactly the same. It's just how I choose to interpret everything. So it's about all of us being able to find that place, the courage to say, wait a second, like your voice. I don't know when you discovered that voice was meant to help move people through the world through what they hear. And that's your gift, and that's what you were placed here to offer to the world, is how do I communicate thoughts for people to hear and to move forward with. And that's what authors do, that's what writers do, that's what painters do, musicians and dancers. We all have these gifts inside of us to be a mother or to be a father or to be a great accountant. And, I'm terrible at numbers. I'm so grateful for anyone that can add 2 + 2 and really get 4.
Is that the answer? I get confused about that myself. Now, Elizabeth, how long did it take you to put your thoughts into print and get your illustrations completed?
That absolutely happened so fast that I don't really remember. I think that the words came in within a day or two, and the illustrations happened within 2 weeks afterwards. They just kept coming in. And then I connected with Balboa Press, and it just was magical. It was just magical.
Wonderful. You have said that your story, at least from initial observation, looks as though it's a story directed towards children, but it has a wider appeal from your perspective. Did you set out to make this a child's read, or how did you begin?
I think that this is what I truly believe, that if we had more books with illustrations, the world would be a happier place. I would love to see pictures, because if you think of when we were children, we sat next to people and we heard their voices. We watched the pictures move as they turned the pages, and we were able to drop ourselves into the story. There was this little movie going on that we really didn't understand, and it grew us, and it made us just feel alive. And so I believe that as adults, we need more visuals in our lives. We need more beauty in our lives. We need less television and more books that describe what we are and how we are. And maybe writing it from a perspective for a child, I think it really touches the adult, the part of us that said, I need to do this for the next generation, but I really believe that there's so much value to us as adults, and we have so much to offer the world, that we should never give up on that little seed that was planted and really truly become who we were born to be.
Great advice. The story itself, who are your main characters? You mentioned a couple of birds, that's my New York thing coming through. Share a little bit of their story.
Well, it's about an eagle egg that drops into a pigeon nest, and the mother and father pigeon have to make this really incredible choice, knowing full well that this was not a pigeon egg. It's bigger, and it doesn't look anything like the eggs they had hatched or that they were about to hatch. So this is about adoption. This is about truly searching the soul and going, okay, here's a scenario that's been presented to us, and are we in the position to love this unconditionally? Whatever turns out, I want to love this unconditionally. And so Mama and Papa Pigeon said, yes, we're going to adopt whatever this is, and we're going to make it part of our family. So the story is about Mama and Papa Pigeon, and they have two little ones of their own, Noah and Pipio. And then Soar is born, and they're all looking at her going, oh, you are not a pigeon. And but she doesn't know that, because she only sees from her eyes. So what she sees is a world of pigeons, not having any clue what her body looks like, because, well, you know, pigeons in the world out there, they don't have mirrors like we do.
Right.
So she lives her whole life thinking she's a pigeon, doing everything she possibly can to be a pigeon, but it just doesn't work for her. They make fun of her. She's awkward. She's much bigger than everybody. And then there's this turning point in her life where they're playing a game, and her instincts start to come out, where she is trying to be kind and gentle, but she grabs one of the pigeons, and only playfully, but it still hurt the pigeon. And that's when her turning point kind of happened. She realized that there's something about her that's not like everyone else. But then she meets Theo, who is the maintenance guy, and he is just astounded to see this bird on the rooftop that does not look like a pigeon. And so the story is about her discovering who she really is, and Theo giving her the opportunity to recognize it from her heart, instead of him just saying, look, girl, you need to realize you're not a pigeon, fly off. But he lets her discover it for herself. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is if we're told things, usually we put up a guard and say, I'm going to do it my way. But when we're allowed to take on the information from the people around us, the people that are guiding us, and truly listen to their wisdom with an open heart, we eventually realize, wow, I'm an eagle. I'm meant to soar.
The adoption side of this story, is that something that was purposeful, that I guess would be directed to children who may be in an adoptive family? Or was that just a convenient way to underscore the message that you were trying to share?
I believe it's twofold. My sister has adopted two boys from Russia. When they were 9 years old, they were twins, and she's raised them. So I've had adoption in my family. Also, my cousin was also adopted. So adoption is a huge theme in my family. It's really about looking at the person's heart and seeing who they are. But the story just also evolved that way. It's a great way to introduce how the theme of the story is going to work and how to discover who you are from your heart center versus just looking outside and going, well, you know, I got plopped on a rooftop. This is what I was meant to do. I was supposed to be a pigeon. And as most of us talk about pigeons, they're just moochers and poopers. We really don't care about much more about them. But they're amazing creatures. I mean, they're amazing. They're very spiritual in a lot of cultures. They mate for life. They only have 2 eggs. The babies stay in the nest for months. They're very intelligent. If you think about what they did, there used to be the messenger pigeons that could fly anywhere in the world. They were used in World War II to bring messages. I mean, they're incredible creatures, but we just look at them as these, you know, sky rats, so to speak, just going and taking whatever they can. And then you've got this beautiful eagle, and she too, you know, it's just, we all have this divine purpose, and it's about discovering what that purpose is for you, not based on where you landed. It's not because if you look at the world outside, so many people nowadays, they're like, well, I'm stuck in this situation. It's like, no, you really are not. You can go anywhere you want to go. It's about choice. And a lot of us have forgotten that we have freedom of choice. Mind you, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be convenient. But that's part of the journey. I mean, look at all these great movies. The Hobbit, the journey he went through was amazing. It wasn't easy. But if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have come home and been this amazing hobbit he was created to be.
A needed positive message, for sure. Is that what sets it apart from the others in the marketplace that are designed for children to read?
I believe so. I believe that there's a difference between storytelling and wisdom telling, and I believe An Eagle Soars is wisdom telling. It's really about a modern day way of looking at, you know, we have 7 billion people on the planet, and so many of us are looking for our way. And many of us are just put in a situation where we think this is it. And then the older we get, we really start to define ourselves as this is it. This is all there's ever going to be for me. But I think this book can put some nourishment, put some water on the seed that was planted in our hearts and bring out the divine design of who we are.
And that would be your underlying message then. Find out who you are and develop it, let it grow.
Absolutely. I believe each one of us are here for a divine purpose, and when we don't cultivate that divine purpose, it's a disgrace, so to speak, for us as a human race, because each one of us is gifted. And it's not about a television gift. It's not about being famous. It's truly about changing the world, one soul at a time.
I will mention to my listeners that you also have a home base in Texas, although you're in New York State. So your story actually does take place on the edge of a Texas city, nestled near a forest.
Yes.
Wonderful. This is an interesting approach to positive reinforcement of developing our gifts. The title, again, is An Eagle Soars, written and illustrated by our author, Elizabeth Marie. Elizabeth, where can my listeners get a copy of your book?
Thank you, Jay, for asking. I have various sources, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, also the Balboa bookstore. It's available on my website, and there's a lot of art that can go there, too. I'm also an artist, so it's Words with Art.
Excellent. Another book, is it in the future? Is there a sequel to this coming our way?
Oh, my goodness, thank you for asking. Yes, and there's another book that I've illustrated about this kind of the same subject. It's based on flowers, Don't Forget to Bloom. And it's another glorious story about how we were born with all these gifts, and we are at choice to either be bullied out of our gifts or to actually bloom into who we're meant to be. So, yes, I think it's a very powerful stories that the world, the universe is saying, we need y'all to recognize who you are because it's now. The time is now for you to be bright and shiny and loving.
Elizabeth, with most authors, there are some challenges that have to be overcome in order to get something published. Did you encounter anything?
Actually, there was a challenging part, and it was getting into my heart and looking into myself from the perspective of Soar and really seeing what my wisdom is with the chances and the opportunities that kept coming my way, and to see myself from the inside out versus the outside in, which I've never really done. I've always tried to mold myself to please others. And so when I realized the power of who Soar is and the power she holds in choice, I realized that I was empowered to really look at my heart space and go, wait a second, I don't have to live here. I don't have to do this. I am at free will and I'm at free choice. I just have to have the courage to step forward and say, I am valuable and I am worthy of this new adventure.
So An Eagle Soars actually is a journey of self-discovery as well.
Yes.
Positive message. Thanks for sharing your background story into this book, An Eagle Soars. Our guest, Elizabeth Marie, thank you for joining me today, and look forward to visiting with you in the future when your next edition comes out.
Thank you, Jay. I look forward to that, too.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
For Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press, this is J. Douglas Barker.
You're listening to Indie Book Publishing, and we'll be right back after these messages.